So you think you might want to raise chickens. Let's talk about this. So let's break this down. Why on earth would anybody want to raise chickens? They stink, they're noisy, and they poop everywhere. So then why do you want to add these guys to your farm? I've wanted a farm my whole life. I grew up in the city, so I wanted to move out into the country, grow my own food, have some farm animals, and I wanted to become sustainable. This has been a dream of mine for a long time. So what is your why? I can almost guarantee you that if your why is because of an egg crisis and you think by raising chickens you're going to have free eggs, think again. These eggs are far more expensive than the eggs that you're going to buy in the grocery store. And they're a lot harder to obtain. They're more work. Your eggs will never be free. Here's a few things that you should consider before you even go out and buy your chicks. The coop. Chickens need a safe haven from predators. They may be considered tiny dinosaurs, but they are very vulnerable to predators. Consider something safer than the cheapy coops that you can buy from your local feed store. Those aren't very good. This right here is chicken wire. We use this around plants and stuff. Chicken wire is okay to keep chickens out of things or to keep chickens in. But chicken wire is not designed to keep your predators out. Consider using 1/4-inch hardware cloth. That's what we have here. It's very durable. Nothing's going to get in there. A raccoon can actually stick their hand through a chain link fence and pull off a head of a chicken, and they'll do it for sport. The next thing that we want to consider is the run. You need a run, a covered run, for the protection of your chickens, to keep them out of the sun, and also the rain and the snow. So the coop's inside the barn. We had an old horse stall, and then Mike and our neighbor, John, they constructed this run. It's 21 by 11. In the winter, we throw up these tarps. They're greenhouse tarps, and it helps to keep a lot of the elements out. It's also a little bit warmer in there too. Outside here, we have them contained in an outside run. This keeps them out of the garden. It keeps them out from scratching everywhere. It also keeps them out of the swamp. All things to consider when trying to keep your little chickies safe. How much do you think that we spent on this coop?
Taking into account hardware, lumber, roofing materials, screws, miscellaneous bits and pieces, locks, padlocks, etc., I would say anywhere from $2,500 to around $3,000. Length of time was probably around 6 months from start to finish.
Let's talk about the feed bill. This is our 3rd year with chickens, and the price of our feed has already gone up $3. They also go through a lot more feed in the winter because they're not out foraging like they are in the summer. Giving them all of your chicken scraps will also help to bring down the cost of feed. The next thing up on our list is commitment. These little girls take a lot of commitment, a lot of time. Chickens are animals and they rely on our help. Every single day we must clean their poop board. We have to feed them. We have to change their water. We have to look after them. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it takes time every day. Having chickens, just like dogs, cats, it's a huge commitment. The coop and run, they don't have to be cleaned daily, but it is a chore that does have to be done. Depends. In the summer, it needs to be done a couple times a week. In the winter, we do a deep litter method. That's another video. Another thing to consider, check your zoning laws. Don't wait until you've got your coop set up, your run set up, your chickens, your brooder, everything going, only to find out you can't have chickens. I belong to social media groups, and I've seen it time and time again where people, they're fighting their township because they have chickens and they're not supposed to have them. This is what happened to some really good friends of ours. They got chickens. They weren't aware that they weren't supposed to have chickens. She called me up one day and she said, "Please help me." She had her favorite little girl, Miss Speckles is what she called her. I switched her name to Poppy.
And I call her Popsicle.
Popsicle. And then this is Leia. We got Leia from her too because I wanted to make sure that Poppy had a friend. Don't make that mistake. That would just be so heartbreaking. Death and illness. This is not a very popular subject, but this is something that does need to be mentioned. Oh gosh, this is something that you cannot ever be prepared for. I swear. You don't think, oh, I'm going to bring home my chicks. How am I going to dispose of their bodies someday? That doesn't cross your mind. Chickens look for ways to die. They're not the smartest creatures. They eat everything. They go into dangerous places. This right here is Penny. Penny is one of 4 of Isa Browns that we had. And what's the matter? Why are you breathing like that? Why are you breathing like that? That's what I'm talking about. Chickens and illnesses. You don't know. She's okay. Anyway, Penny, I brought her home with 4 Isa Browns, and the 4th one died right when I got it home. I don't know what happened. We're never gonna know. The takeaway to this is, please, if you do decide to get chickens, familiarize yourself with the different diseases. Get yourself a first aid kit. Don't go into this thinking, I'm just going to raise chickens, get eggs, the end. Because that's very naive. It doesn't mean that your chickens are going to get sick, but they can. And chickens die. They have a lifespan of 5 to 10 years, but they can die within 8 months. They can die within 2 months. Get yourself that first aid kit. Stock up on as many things as you possibly can, because one day you're going to come across something called bumblefoot, and you're going to be scrambling because you don't have all the necessary items to deal with bumblefoot. Another video. Death. Everything dies. These little fluffy butts, they will get into your heart. They will ingrain themselves inside of you, and then one day you're going to come outside and your favorite chicken is dead. It happens. It's going to happen. I can promise you this. I have a video right here about chicken death and grieving. We've lost 5, and it does get a little bit easier. It really does. So before you run out to get your baby chicks for free eggs, just stop and consider a few of these points that I brought up to you today. I haven't even really talked chicks yet. That is a whole other video. We are going to get chicks this year. But chicks, you have to keep them warm. You have to keep a really close eye on them. There's something called pasty butt. For 6 to 8 weeks, those little buggers are inside of your house or inside of your garage. You've got to keep them safe. Keep them locked up tight, because everything wants to eat them, including your barn cats. And guess what? You're going to have to wait 16 to 26 weeks maybe on average for your first eggs. So just look at the commitment, look at the bigger picture. I do not want you to think that I'm trying to discourage you from chickens. I have wanted chickens forever. This is my why. Just think about your why. Think about all these different reasons and then make your decision. You may think we're pulling in a dozen eggs a day, but right now in the wintertime, we're lucky to get, 2 to 4 a week. They have started picking up, but you don't get a lot of eggs in the winter.
So as over here in America with the egg prices and demand soaring, I've just been speaking to my mum in England, and they're experiencing the same issues there. They can find them, but the prices have elevated considerably from what they were the past few years ago. I think a dozen eggs now are the equivalent of £4 British pounds, which with the exchange rate is around $6.
There is going to be a demand for chicks this year. There is going to be a demand for chickens. There's no doubt about it. I've already heard stories about how prices of chicks are going up. But just remember, it's not always a reason to run out and get baby chicks. So I appreciate you hanging out with us, and I really hope to see you next time. If you have any questions or concerns, I am not a chicken expert, but I do know quite a bit. You can email me at twoenglishacres@gmail.com. Have a blessed week. I have a visitor. This is Poppy. She's our bantam.